whatever. I hate that ride. That's a pretty controversial thing, but I do. Hello, this is my first Disney video, but I've been wanting to share my top 10 honest tips for planning a Disney trip for a long time. For context, in 2019, I took my family on our very first Disney trip. It was a big deal, but we'd never really been to the Disney parks before, so planning was difficult because we didn't really know what we'd like and what the parks were like. So I want to share my top 10 tips that I learned after going on my first perfect Disney trip. So to start off, my number one lesson that I learned after planning my first perfect Disney trip is you don't need Park Hopper. Some people will tell you you absolutely need Park Hopper. Some other planners will tell you that Park Hopper is completely useless. I think there's a little bit of middle ground here, but it really depends on who you are and who your family is. So there are maybe 3 sets of people that are good to use Park Hopper. People who are Disney veterans, who know everything about Disney. They've been every year of their lives. They know exactly what they want to ride, exactly what the parks are like. The second group is people that are coming for a very long time. This is generally people from Europe who come for about 2 weeks in the summer. That is someone who's going to use Park Hopper because you're not going to spend 14 days in one park each. And the third is people that are coming for maybe 2 or 3 days. That's also a useful time to have Park Hopper because you're not going to be able to spend a full day in every park. But if you're going for 4 or more days, you really don't need a Park Hopper. If this is your first Disney trip, you're going to want to experience the ambiance and all of the sights to see in the parks. And instead of rushing around to every park, having breakfast in one and lunch in one and dinner in one, you can just focus on being in the Magic Kingdom, in Epcot, in Animal Kingdom, in Hollywood Studios. Focus on one park a day if this is your first trip. My second Disney tip that I learned and I wish I had taken advantage of is just buy Memory Maker. If you buy it up to, I believe it's 3 days before you arrive, it's a little bit cheaper, so you should definitely do it then. But Memory Maker is a great thing to purchase, especially if you're going to be doing character dining, meeting characters, going on rides that have the fun pictures, any of that. You're going to want Memory Maker at the end of it. I didn't buy Memory Maker for my family. I thought, we don't need it. We'll just get pictures on our iPhones. All PhotoPass photographers will take pictures on your phone. But at the end of our trip, we were looking through all of these great photos we had, and sometimes there were photos with my whole family together, and we couldn't do that when we had someone taking a photo in the background. So I would have just bought Memory Maker had I known that we would have used it so much. And so for our next trip, I will be buying it. And even if we don't use it, I'm going to feel better having the peace of mind that we can, and we don't have to pay $16 for every one of those photos afterwards. You only have to have 10 photos to make Memory Maker completely worth it for your family. And that's all combinations of photos. That's photos on rides, photos with characters, photos with one person or your whole family with a character. Those are all really useful uses of Memory Maker, and it really is quite easy to make your money back as long as you get 10 photos at the end of your trip. My third tip that I kind of used, but maybe could have used a little bit better, is study wait times before you go and plan your fast passes strategically. People will tell you what the top fast passes are, what the longest waits are, but it's really difficult to know exactly what the wait time for the rides you want to ride is at the exact time that you're going. So, a few weeks before your trip, start looking at wait times. Start looking at wait times on the weekend. Start looking at wait times in the middle of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon. So you have an understanding of how long you're going to be waiting at all sorts of times during the day. Because often these blogs will tell you, well, the wait time is 40 minutes always. That's just not true. The longest my family waited in a line for a ride, our whole trip, was 30 minutes, and that was for Peter Pan's Flight, which we rode at the end of the night after the fireworks, and we were able to get on very, very quickly. In contrast, the next longest line we waited in was actually for Na'vi River Journey, and it was 20 minutes. You'll hear universally people will tell you the wait time for something like Na'vi River Journey is going to be 2 hours. They're going to say it's not worth it. If your family arrives at Animal Kingdom at like 9 a.m., you can get on Na'vi River Journey in 20 minutes. So if you study your wait times and understand when the best time to ride those rides are, you really don't have to wait in many lines at Disney World. Again, for context, we were there during spring break, which is maybe one of the busiest times of the year just after Christmas. So we were dealing with huge crowds, and even then, we weren't waiting very long for rides. Number 4 is start early and end early, or start late and end late. This is a tip that I did not take advantage of properly. My family arrived at the park around 9 a.m. every day. All of the parks opened at 9 a.m. during our time at Disney World, but we often ended really late as well. So on the day we were in Epcot, we got there at about 9:15, but we also stayed in Epcot until 8 o'clock for our dinner reservation, so we were home by about 10 p.m., which was about 13 hours in one park, which is really difficult and so tiring. I think we walked like 3,000 steps that day. I will not be doing that again. My tip is, if you're a person who cannot wake up early, get there in the afternoon and then stay until the park closes. You're still not going to get that really early morning, easy time to get on rides, but if you're willing to skip the nighttime shows, you can get on rides pretty easily late at night. But if you're a person who's able to commit themselves to getting to the park really early at like 9 a.m., you'll be able to ride all of the rides you want to ride throughout the day by about 4 or 5 o'clock. Then you can go have dinner and go home. Now, if you want to be there early and late, the easiest way to do that is to take a break in the middle of the day. Go back to your resort. My fifth tip that I think a lot of people need to hear: the dining plan will probably lose you money. This is something that all Disney planners have one answer to. If you can plan well and you know your family, it's really up to you whether or not the dining plan will make you money. Newsflash, it won't. Unless you're the kind of person who can plan their trip down to every meal and every snack, you probably will lose money on the dining plan. That being said, I've planned practice trips with different kinds of budgets with the dining plan and been able to save upwards of $500. But that's because I'm planning a hypothetical trip. When I'm actually at the park, especially if you have little kids, those snacks are going to lose you so much money. Because in order to make money on a snack, you need to be spending about more than $5. And sometimes you might want something that's less than $5. You might want that $4 bottle of water, which every Disney planner will tell you is a terrible waste of money, but you might want it. And there's $1 out the window when it comes to the dining plan. If you're at a table service restaurant and you're not the kind of person who eats steak and lobster at every one of their meals, you're going to lose money. If you're a vegetarian, don't even think about the dining plan. You will 100% lose money. But if you're also an omnivore, and you eat a varied diet, and sometimes you want to eat fish, and sometimes you want to eat steak, you'll maybe eat steak once on your trip, the dining plan's probably also going to lose you money. It is formulated for you to lose money. Disney would not sell you this if it wasn't something that was going to lose you money. Now, the reason a lot of people like the dining plan is because it allows you to plan out your food budget completely. And if you're on a really tight budget where every single meal you're spending is going to get in your head and you're going to think about it, it's going to worry you, maybe the dining plan is for you. But remember that those dollars that you're not worrying about anymore are probably dollars you wouldn't have spent if you were. It's important to think about the dining plan in terms of, am I looking for the peace of mind of getting the dining plan, or do I actually want to save money? And a lot of people will tell you that the dining plan is more convenient, but it's really only convenient for a specific subset of people. And that is people that drink alcohol, order expensive meals, and love dessert. If you have a child over the age of 10, they're still paying that alcohol-included price, but obviously they can't drink alcohol. That's a lot of money you're wasting on a 10-year-old. If your family is the kind of family that drinks a lot, eats a lot of steak and a lot of lobster, and loves dessert, and you're willing to plan every single thing you're going to eat at Disney World down to the dollar, then the dining plan's definitely for you. Go for it. But if you're not any of those things, the dining plan's not useful for you. My number 6 tip for Disney is spread your fast passes out or put them all in the morning. I know, that was totally contradictory, but it really depends on the park that you're at. Now, this can vary for the time of year that you're at Disney. If you're there at a really busy time, Christmas, spring break, or summer during those busier times, so anywhere around the 4th of July, right at the beginning of the summer, or right at the end of the summer, you're not going to be able to get many fast passes after your original 3. Now, a lot of Disney people will tell you, you should book all your fast passes in the morning so that you can get that 4th fast pass, and that 5th, and that 6th, and that 7th. Yes, in theory. In practice, it can be pretty difficult if you're there at a busy time. The thing that you should really be doing is putting all of your fast passes in the morning at a park where you're going to be able to get more fast passes. Now, Magic Kingdom is a good-ish example of this if you're not looking to get on those e-ticket rides as your 4th or 5th FastPass. One that I have found to be really good for this is Epcot, because Epcot has a lot of kind of tier 2 rides. You can get on Living with the Land, Journey into Imagination, those sorts of things with your 5th or 6th FastPass easily. Because there are a lot of FastPass spots and not that many people are pre-booking Journey into Imagination. At Animal Kingdom, you're not really going to find much other than the shows. So, I would say, book your FastPasses in the morning at a park where you think you're going to get more FastPasses. Study the wait times, study the FastPasses, see what people are getting during that time of year that you're going. If you're going in the middle of September, absolutely book all of your FastPasses in the morning because you will get unlimited FastPasses for the rest of the day. But if you're going in March, maybe think more about booking them throughout the day so that you can enjoy a FastPass every few hours instead of having to worry about having nothing for the afternoon. If the only FastPass you can get for Flight of Passage is at like 9 o'clock, still do it because you are going to be waiting so many hours to ride that ride in standby instead of just getting that one FastPass. My number seven tip for Disney World, consider having a sit-down lunch. I know a lot of people shy away from having a sit-down lunch because it's not necessarily the best value on the dining plan. Again, I don't love the dining plan. A lot of people say that it's not the best value, you're going to get more money out of dinner than lunch. If you're not on the dining plan, that reverse is going to be more helpful for you. A cheaper lunch is going to be better. But also, if your family vacations fairly often, and when you go on vacation, you don't normally eat fast food for lunch, and instead you want to sit down and have like a pasta or chicken or something like that, that is probably going to give you a lot more energy for the rest of the day than getting burgers and fries and running back into the park. Also, a lot of people say that sit-down lunch takes out so much time out of your Disney day. I totally disagree with this. We had a sit-down lunch many of the days on our trip because we're the kind of people that are used to sitting down for lunch on a vacation, and it only really took out maybe half an hour, 45 minutes at most to eat, and we wouldn't really have been doing anything otherwise. We would have been sitting around taking a break because we were tired at noon. So why not get a meal in there at the same time? And if you're willing to share entrees with someone, especially at somewhere like Via Napoli where you can get a pizza and share it between the two of you, you're not actually spending a whole lot more on a sit-down restaurant than you would be at a quick service restaurant. That being said, if you're eating at like Tiffin's for lunch, which is a signature two-credit restaurant, of course you're going to be spending more. But at a regular table service restaurant, you can make it so you're not spending a whole lot of money and you're still getting that sit-down AC time in a nicer environment. Number 8, don't pay for room upgrades, including club level. A room view or club level really isn't useful if you're going on your first Disney trip. If you are there for your first time and you don't really know what you're doing and you're planning on spending a lot of time in the park, paying $200-300 extra a night for a view of a pool or a fountain really isn't going to do much for you, and those theme park views are so expensive. They're like double the price of a regular room just so you can see the castle, and you can see the castle from all sorts of places at resorts. So I'd say don't bother paying for a room level upgrade. As for club level, it's a total money grab and I don't think it's worth it. If you're going to spend $200 extra so that you get access to a snack bar, it really doesn't seem very useful to me. Now, Disney is and has been running a pilot program where club level people get extra fast passes for a small fee. By small, I mean $50 a day with a minimum of 3 days. You're spending $150 per person in total on extra fast passes, so really like a very large fee. But that may be useful for your family if you're the sort of family that rides a lot of rides. If you're riding like 10 rides a day with your family, that might be useful. But if you want to spend $200 extra a night on your room, plus the $150 for every person to get that fast pass extra, and $50+ if you're going for more than 3 days, I don't really think that money adds up to the experience that you're getting. At that point, you might as well be buying an after hours or an early morning magic. It will cost you less, in fact, than that, and you'll be getting on every ride in the park during that time. So I really don't think it's a perk worth paying for. Number 9. Don't intend to be a drill sergeant. I know a lot of people will tell you at Disney that if you are the planning person often the mom, you might be told you have to prepare to be the person who is dragging everyone around the park. That can lead to, one, you being the least liked person on that trip, two, you being really tired, because especially if you have little kids who like are used to taking naps and taking things pretty slow and their feet get tired, so you have to like put them in a stroller and that kind of stuff, you're probably not going to enjoy your trip that much because you're so worried about getting to this and this and this and this reservation and this thing and this thing. You're tired. I don't really support the idea that you should like not go to your reservations that you have planned, because if you're excited about Disney, you should definitely go to the reservations you planned. You should definitely go to the fast passes you planned. But the rest of the stuff, little things like you want to go up Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse, or you want to see the Enchanted Tiki Room. Oh my goodness. I want to go see the Enchanted Tiki Room. I would say Country Bear Jamboree, but I think you should absolutely see Country Bear Jamboree. But the little things, the little rides you don't really care about, Dumbo, that kind of stuff, let that roll over you. If you're in Epcot and people are like, we don't really want to see Epcot forever, don't worry about that. Let it roll off your back. You're there to enjoy Disney as much as they are. That being said, you're also there to enjoy Disney as much as they are. So be forthcoming about the things that you want to do and that you really care about and that you think are great experiences. I forced my family to do some things that I don't think they would have done. Country Bear Jamboree being one of them for sure. They loved that ride. Took them on Frozen Ever After. Loved it. Forced them on Flight of Passage, which we wouldn't really have done because we don't really like roller coaster rides. Which is not, but it's kind of got that like rap of being a more exciting ride. Loved it. A lot of those things that I planned that I knew they were gonna like were their favorite things at Disney and were the things that made them understand why I loved Disney. So be forthcoming about the things that are important to you. But if Magic Carpets of Aladdin isn't the ride you really want to ride, but it's on your list, don't bother, you don't need to. And my final number 10 tip, it kind of ties into the last one, is know your family. Know what they're gonna like, know what they won't like. Don't put your family of people that hate roller coasters on Rock and Roller Coaster. Conversely, force them to do things that you know they're gonna love. Know what your family's gonna love and know what's important to you to take them on and take them there. And they'll understand why you love Disney, which really is the most important part of taking your family on a Disney trip. Know your family and know yourself, and make sure those things connect so that you guys can all understand this great experience together. So, those are my top 10 honest tips about Disney that hopefully you haven't heard before, you haven't heard this kind of opinion on them. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions about planning a Disney trip, leave them in the comments below. And I'm going to come back and do a full rundown of my first Disney trip, a full rundown of the trip I'm planning right now. I'm going to do a dining plan comparison for both of them so you can see what I mean about losing money on the dining plan or it not really working for my family. I'll see you guys soon. Hopefully you enjoyed.